Boy, it is a fun time hanging out here on Monday nights on the Rec Poker Podcast. I've got the best freaking job in the world. If you haven't heard, my name's Jim Reed, Bluffsterini in the home game and at Rec Poker Jim on Twitter. And I just get to hang out here on Monday nights talking with my friends about this fantastic game we all love so much called poker. I have to thank our sponsors, the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. Most of what we do here is free. We're a largely volunteer-based organization, so we depend on support from our sponsors and our premium members. And if folks want to sign up for free, a lot of our members here are free. It's a great way to get involved with Rec Poker. All it takes is an email address and a smile, although we do insist on both. But if you do want to unlock that next level, you can go premium by using the code RECPOKER at checkout. Get your first month for only $5. Now, you get used to hearing my voice on the podcast because they let me host the show on Mondays, but I'm just one man. It takes a village, a group, a team, a crew to make the magic happen here at Rec Poker. We call this group the Wrecking Crew. And if you want to find out more about me or the rest of the Wrecking Crew, you can go to rec.poker/crew, or you can just listen up because you're going to meet a few of them right here on the show tonight.
Hey guys, I'm Joseph Wills. I am hockey_poker on the Twitter X first. And check out my series of articles on the website called Be a Better Fish, because we all want to be a better fish.
I'm Kim Kilroy. I am PetFat or PetFat33 on the social platforms. I'm Fergie56 in the home game, and I run a hand history review group on the second Wednesday of the month here at Rec Poker.
And I'm Rob Washam, and I'm Rabman50 just about everywhere. You can join me on the first and third Wednesdays of every month for the Rec Poker book study.
And once in a blue moon, we're joined by a member of the Poker Glitterati. We've got Faraz Jaka back in the room today to talk about some post-flop concepts taking off from where we were talking over the last couple of weeks. Faraz, thanks so much for coming back on the show here. I can't wait to share some more tidbits of knowledge that are available over at Jaka Coaching.
All right, so we're going to talk about check raising from the big blind today, and I'm really excited about this one because I swear students come back to me over and over again and say, this is the lesson that transformed my game. So it's super important. And what I love most about it, it's super easy to learn. I just got really simplified heuristics for you guys, so you guys are going to love it. We're just going to go through two hands today, talk about kind of how we can extend our bluff range and our value range to make sure we maximize when we do have it. And we're specifically going to talk from the big blind because that's the spot you're in over and over again, right? We have to call a lot from there. So we really want to be experts playing out big blind. I'm ready to jump into it, but is there anything else you want to say? Just go for it. Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say that no one listening to this show is check raising enough. So I can't wait to find out what are the good candidates, the good qualities that make for spots that we can expand our check raising range. I love it.
Okay, so we have Jack 3 suited here, and we're facing a open from middle position. We're about 32 big blinds deep, Jack 3 of diamonds here. We're going to be calling pretty much any two suited hands and any kind of connected cards, 5-7 offsuit, 4-5 offsuit, and so on. So we check here, 9-4 deuce, rainbow with a diamond. Player bets two big blinds. Now, I want to ask you what you're going to do with a range of hands here, not necessarily just with Jack 3 suited. So I guess I have a question. So A, what will you do with Jack 3 suited? And then second question is, what are some check raise bluffs here you would consider? What type of hands? I'll let whoever wants to jump in and take a stab at it. We'll just go with two or three of you.
Here, Rob, you jumped in first there.
Yeah, I think standard obviously is any two pair, any like say 3-5 of spades or 3-5 of diamonds would be perfect because they got the backdoor straights, they got the backdoor flush with the open-ended straight, those types of hands. And then you have to actually look at the flop texture also to understand that in this configuration, as a big blind, we probably have the nut advantage here. Not necessarily range advantage, but we do have the nut advantage. So it is an opportunity to make him, you could make a lot of overcards fold here if you do a check raise at this point. So I think there's two things. You look at the strength of your hand, and then you look at the type of flop that you're presented with.
Okay, so you said you want to check raise some like 5-3 suited, some of these kind of straight draw things, stuff with backdoors. And then what do you want to do with this one? Are you just check folding? Are you check calling? Are you check raising?
Well, I think in this configuration, you could call one time, and if you get something less than a 9, then go ahead and donk lead the turn, or you could check raise here to try to get some of the overcards to fold.
Okay, let's get one more volunteer and then I'll give my analysis.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I also like Rob. I look for hands that have some equity when we turn them into check raise bluffs, but not so much that we are worried about getting blown off the hand if they come back over the top. So backdoors are good examples of that. And I do think this is the kind of board where they're going to have one pair a lot. So it kind of makes it a good candidate. This board is a good board for us to be check raising on. I think to answer your specific question, I think actually this does make a pretty good check raising candidate.
Okay, and why is that?
Because it's got a backdoor straight, it's got a backdoor flush. It's got multiple ways that it can improve, and that's sort of about what it is about the hand that I like.
Okay, cool. All right, great stuff. A lot of stuff there. So let's jump into it. So I actually do like check raising this hand. I think this is one a lot of people miss. Before we kind of jump into this specific hand, let's talk about the entire check raise bluff range. So the easiest, most obvious check raise bluffs are just your gut shots. And here that's basically gonna be stuff like 5-6, ace-3, ace-5. And what's great about those is you have a chance to turn the nuts. So, we have something nice there. Something like 5-6 has overcards to, the 4 in case they have a pair of 4s. And you could pick up good barrel cards, right? You could pick up an open-ended and continue and whatnot. And with something like ace-3, ace-5, some people might say, well, why should we check raise? Because he's just going to fold like 10-jack and queen-king, and we're beating those hands anyways. The problem is when you check call ace-5 here, the turn's most likely going to be some sort of overcard 8 or bigger. And, when it's a 10, jack, queen, king, ace, they're just going to barrel a lot. And they're going to barrel you off the ace-5 often, whether or not, they actually have the best hand or not. So that's one thing. The other reason why check raising a hand like ace-5, ace-3 is so nice is because you get better aces to fold. Right, they're gonna fold stuff like ace-10 offsuit or ace-10 of clubs without the backdoor flush draw. And now when you hit your ace outs are more clean. So yeah, those gut shots should be the first and most obvious things you think about. And then the next thing that people miss are these kind of high card with a high card with a backdoor straight draw and a backdoor flush draw. So people don't think about like king 5 suited, queen 6 suited, like all these hands can, turn a lot of equity. So that's one thing it has going for it. The other thing is, right, someone mentioned calling this hand. The reason I don't like calling this is because when a jack comes and this guy bats and bets again, we're still not feeling great about our hand, right? We have, a pretty whatever kicker. But when you check raise here, you get him off the king jack, you get him off the queen jack, and now your jack outs are better as well. So yeah, so that's the second reason why we like it. And there's a third reason that's super, super important. A lot of people have learned that, hey, we should check raise stuff like ace-9 and king-9 here, our best nines. But when an ace, a king, a queen, a jack comes, it's, what do I do now? Check, call, check, and you just look weak and they shove and you're just like pulling your hair now, right? So what people are missing is they're missing board coverage. We want to make sure that our bluffs cover the ace, cover the king, cover the queen, the jack, and the 10. That's how we make ourselves very sticky, very annoying to play against. So let's go ahead and look at GTO Wizard here to kind of see what our check raise strategy can look like. So the red here are the check raises. I'm gonna actually, okay, so one thing real quick. So This is assuming that this player is checking back about 20% of the time. So this is their betting strategy. I would just simplify to bet range because most people don't check raise enough. So if something is checking 20%, I just bet range. But if it's checking like 50%, then yeah, I'll have a check range. But I would bet a little bit more than what a solver would say. So if we look at this one, Jack 3 suited is not check raising, but you do see it from the Queen 3 suited, the King 3 suited. Now, if I change this to say the guy's betting range, now you'll see Jack 3 suited does get in there. So if people are betting more than a solver thinks or more than they should, we get to also check raise more. So sorry, that's a little bit of a tangent there. But I just want to visualize some of these check raises here, right? So we see the 5-6 here has some nice red, right? It doesn't mean you have to check raise it every time, but it's a pretty solid option. We see the 3-5 that some of you guys mentioned. You see a lot of that ace-5 here. Even ace-6, right? Ace-6 can get some nice backdoor stuff. It gives us board coverage. But again, look at that trend. We have aces, we have kings in there, we have queens in there, we have jacks in there, we have some tens in there with the 8-10 suited. So these wrap around the top cards are really nice. You just can turn a lot of open-ended. So yeah, actually, before I jump into questions, I just want to show you when we do check raise here, couple things. So first of all, look at what folds, right? We're folding all these hands that dominated us and just hands that completely whiffed the flop. So one thing, when you check raise here, you don't need to go very big. My standard check raise size is something like 2.5 to 3 times their bet, assuming they bet like a third of the pot. A lot of people I see check raise like 4x or 5x, and they're like, well, if I check raise small, they're not going to fold anything anyways. Well, you're just trying to get them to fold their junk, right? We're not trying to get them off a pair of jacks or top pair, just trying to get them off pure junk, and you don't need to check raise very big to accomplish that. Any questions?
I really like the way you're thinking about how you are covering future runouts. That's not something that I think is top of mind to a lot of players. They're just thinking about this moment in time. But people get in trouble because they don't think about what am I going to do on future streets. And I guess my question for us is it good to have some just like one and done check raises where you're just not going to continue if they don't fold, or should those just be some of these other ones that make good candidates anyway, and you're going to continue with some and not with others?
Well, every single one of our bluffs had some sort of equity, right? Like either a backdoor straight draw, a backdoor flush draw, an overcard. So naturally, if we pick up some equity or hit a pair, we're totally going to be able to continue. Something that could be like a kind of a one and done, but I would say no, there is no one and dones. But let's say you want to check raise something like 4-5 here. That gets into kind of a little bit more advanced strategy, which I do talk about in my check raising for the big blind lesson, but I'm not going to go into that too much now. But we might check raise something like 4-5 because it needs some protection. And then let's say an overcard comes, we might just check fold that. But if a low card comes, we're going to probably check call or maybe even do a block bet on the turn. So yeah, I would say there's really no one and done hands. It depends on what the turn card is.
That makes a lot of sense. And we're going to continue in a lot of cases when we pick up equity, and we're going to give up when we don't pick up equity. And that's how we kind of select what we do on future streets, it sounds like.
Yeah, and I'm not going to talk about what to do on the turn here because that just opens up another can of worms. So we don't have enough time for that right now. But in general, it is good to know that look at what they're continuing with. Like generally, the razor has ace through 10, right? Broadway cards. And generally, the big blind has a lot of 8 through 4 type cards. So when a big card comes, that hits the other player. And when a low card comes, it hits us more. So we're generally doing more betting on the low cards on the turn, and we're doing more checking on the big cards. That doesn't mean we're never betting on a big card, but it just should help you understand where you're going to be more aggressive and continue bluffing more often and so on.
Yeah, and we're going to be here sometime with a set of 4s, and we want them to hit that big card because then we're going to continue for value. So it's not all about bluffing, but I like how we're talking about the bluffing candidates here. Thanks, Faraz.
Yeah, and before we go on to the next hand, I will say one thing that's very interesting that a lot of people get wrong. So here, the stack sizes, we're about 30 big blinds deep on this 9-4 deuce. Let's pretend we had 9-4, a two pair, 9-4 suited, 9 deuce suited, something like that. We're definitely check raising here. I think most people already know that. That will be their first answers. But something people don't know is when you get down to, let's say we were only 15 big blinds here and we flop two pair, now we should be check calling our two pairs.
Hmm.
And there's two reasons for that. As we get really shallow, we're going to want to check raise all of our nines and get them in. Like 9-3 suited, like the worst nine, we're still just check raise, get it in, right? You're only 15 big blinds. And I don't mean check shove, I mean check raise small, then shove the turn or call a shove. So now that we're check raising all of our nines when we're shallow, what happens when we check call? We're super weak, right? We never have a nine now. So the way you protect your check calling range when you're shallow is you keep hands like 9-4, 9 deuce, pocket, even your sets, if you have pocket deuces, you just check call them. There's two reasons. One is because we check raised away all of our top pairs. So we need to have something strong. And the second reason is we don't need to check raise it. Or why do you check raise? Normally, why do you check raise a good hand? You check raise a big hand because you want to get all the chips in. You want to make sure you double. You want to lower the SPR, stack to pot ratio. So when stacks are shallow, it's okay if you check call and it goes check, check. You can still easily just jam on the river and make sure all the chips get in.
I have a quick question regarding that. If this scenario was going through, if we check and check raise if they bet 25-30% pot, what if they're betting more like 75 to pot size? Like, would we now put those two pair into our check call range? Like you're saying we would do if we were shorter?
Okay, great question. So first of all, when someone's continuation bets large, and let's just say a small bet is like a third pot or less, a big bet is like 60% or more. When someone does a large continuation bet, our check raise frequency should go down a lot. And our continuation frequency should go down a lot. So for example, here, if this player bet big here, I'm folding this Jack 3 suited because this was kind of one of my worst check raise bluffs, right? Like my better check raise bluffs were like, 5-6 suited and the ace 5, and then maybe the king 5. And then as we get down to queen 5 and jack 5 and 10-5, like those are just getting worse and worse and worse. So the easiest defense when someone bets big on any street is you just fold more. And you check raise less. So if we did have a big hand here and someone bet big, I would also be check raising less against their big bets, because part of the reason you check raise is you want to build a pot, you want to get more chips, you want to charge their weaker hand. If they're putting in the chips for you, you don't need to check raise as much. Now, I'm not saying you never check raise, but definitely less likely to do so.
That's great. All right. Is there any other questions for Faraz, or Faraz, is there anything else you want to cover on this subject?
I have one more hand. We'll go.
Oh,
through.
fantastic. Great.
Okay, I'll click right into it. So here we have king 5 offsuit in the big blind. We're facing a cutoff min raise. We are about 23 big blinds deep. We should be defending king 5 here. And I have a lot of players who say, I know I should be calling this, but I don't, because I'm not comfortable playing these hands post flop. Or maybe even some people have started to learn some of this check raise stuff. They're like, well, I don't know what to do on the turn, so I just don't check raise and I just don't play these hands, period. Now, the problem with that is, first of all, you're right? It is hard, and you're going to get yourself into these tough decisions and you're going to screw it up. But part of getting better is putting yourself in these uncomfortable spots. Because if you don't do that, you're not even going to have the opportunity to learn. So when you start doing some of these new things I'm teaching you, you're actually likely going to have some regression at the beginning, right? Because you're going to be in these turn spots and not have any idea what to do. But that's why you have to have a community of people you post these hands to, ask questions, use solvers, and that's how you get better. It's like I use an analogy of if you're a basketball player with a weird free throw, form, and then someone teaches you the right form, you're probably going to go down in your shooting percentage at first until you fine tune it and get used to it. Okay, so king 5 here, we call. Flop comes king 7-3. This player bets here. I'm looking for what are our value check raises this time. So last time it was what was our bluffs. This time I want to know what are we check raising for value? Who wants to
So
take a stab?
we've probably got pocket sevens and pocket threes in our range here. I think we would have three bet with kings pre-flop, so I'm going to take them out. I guess we have some combos of like king seven of hearts, king seven of clubs, maybe some of these other two pair combos. I'd be check raising those, and that's probably it for value hands.
Okay, so you said it was, sorry, it was king seven, king three suited, and then you said sets.
Yeah, any two pairs or sets, I think. I'm probably not three betting.
Check raising.
Sorry. I'm probably not. Yes, I'm probably not check raising a lot of kings because I would have three bet the stronger kings pre-flop. Is
Okay.
my thinking.
Okay. Anyone else want to take a stab?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of sets and two pairs that you're going to want to check raise on this kind of board. I don't know what your bluffs might be. I think this could, what are we doing? Taking top pair and turning it into a bluff if we check raise here? So I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I think I want to just call this. And if I had a king three or a king seven or a 3-7 suited, something like that, I would probably check raise.
Okay. I love all
I,
your
I,
answers.
I,
Not
I, sorry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
jump
Go
in.
ahead,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna
Go ahead.
say, I was gonna say that I thought we wouldn't have sets because we would probably three bet them pre-flop.
I think
And
that's fair.
then
That yeah, you should be shoving like sevens here and probably threes, but let's pretend we had 25 bigs. Now it's a little bit more borderline. But yeah, that's a good clarification.
and on that board, I like the things like 6-5,
Mhm.
6-4,
Mhm.
suited
For
as
the
our
bluff. Yeah,
bluffs
yeah.
that have a backdoor flush as
Yeah.
well.
But yeah, I was asking them what the value check raises would be
Oh,
here.
value.
Mm,
Okay, yeah.
yeah. Okay, so I love your answers, not because they're right, they're all wrong, but because they are the very, very common misconceptions and the same things a lot of my students say the first time they're in this lesson. So, first of all, on the two pairs and the sets, anyone recall the little takeaway, the little nugget we had on the last hand about what changes when we're shallow with our
Oh,
hands?
right. If we're check raising all our strong hands, then our calling range is very weak, and that's exploitable.
Well, so basically, when we get this shallow, we should be check raising all of our kings, just one pair of
Mm.
kings. That's enough to check raise and get in. And it was someone had mentioned, what are we turning it into a bluff? Like, what are they going to call with, right? Right. So let's explore that. Let's explore that. So I'm gonna switch over to the solver outputs just because it helps us visualize. So first of all, what are they continuation betting on this board, right? They're basically betting everything, right? That
Yep.
you should be betting your whole range here on King 7-3. That means they are betting stuff like queens, jacks, tens, ace queen suited, ace jack suited, right? So what are we getting value with if we check raise? Well, here we just check raise, and now I'm showing their continuing range. Generally, when we check raise small, they continue with about 2/3 and they fold about a third. And sometimes it's hard for the human brain to visualize that, but when we see it here, look at all this we're getting value out of when we check raise a hand like king 5, king 10, right? All these pairs we're getting value out of. We're getting value out of ace queen suited, ace jack suited, ace 10 suited. Now, I think people would probably fold a little bit more than this because I don't think they're calling like ace 10 of hearts without the back door. But even if I got rid of those, you can see there's a lot of things to get value out of here. Right, check raise, right? So what happens is, now I'm going to show our check raise range, and look at all these kings we should be check raising, right? A
Mm.
lot of people are not check raising this. They're letting this guy get away with this small 1.4 big blind. The turn's going to go check, check. And then the river, we're going to bet a few big blinds, and they're going to call with their queens. And we got 6 big blinds out of them, right? When we should be getting a full double here for 20 big blinds, or maybe they fold the river, but at least we'll get like 12 big blinds. And that's a big, big difference, right? We're talking about someone getting 12 to 20 big blinds instead of getting, 5 to 7 big blinds, and you just check call here with the king 5.
So I want to reinforce to our audience, if you get a chance, I know you're enjoying listening to this at home, but go to the YouTube channel and watch this episode on the YouTube channel, because Faraz is doing a great job of showing the entire range of hands. And it's counterintuitive to recreational players how much garbage is in those ranges,
Yeah.
and like how much is available to fold. And we don't intuitively grasp the huge majority of the hands that will fold to this action. We get worried about the few combos they have that beat us, and they will from time to time, but it's a small subset of their entire range. And if you can get them to fold a bunch of these other hands, that's a very advantageous position to be in.
And on the flip side, if we can get value out of all these other hands, like these, ace high with the backdoor flush, or these middle pairs and pocket pairs below the king. So it goes both ways. There's a lot of garbage that we can bluff out that it's hard to visualize unless you see it. And then there's a lot of okay hands that will continue that are also hard to visualize. And this just really helps see that. The last thing I want to say here is, because we're so shallow, only 20 big blinds, look at king 7, pure call. Look at king 3, pure call. And this is what Kim was talking about. We don't have pocket pairs this shallow because we should be shoving them pre-flop when we're this shallow.
Yeah, Kim always lets us know when we hit a threshold for three betting. She's a technician when it comes to that kind of stuff. It's fantastic.
So I will say, this stuff may seem like a lot at first, but it's really not. When you're put in 20 of these scenarios and you just go through it over and over again, it will start to become second nature. This is really easy to get down. So I have a 1-hour lesson on this called Check Raising from the Big Blind. It's the third or fourth video in the MTT crash course, which is included in a Jaka coaching membership. And also on the website, if you use the search feature, I have a 2-hour version of this where I included all the questions and interaction from the live chat. Some people like the 1-hour quick takeaways, and other people want to hear all the questions and want to go through it slower. So both are available. If you can't find it, just email support. We'll point you to that.
Amazing. And if folks want to get more involved with Faraz, you can go check out our Learning with Partners page and find some videos that his group have made available to our Rec Poker Premium members, and a great link that you can click, which helps us out when you join, and you also get a discount on your first month of membership at Jaka Coaching. So thank you so much for that, Faraz. Is there anything else that we should cover today? I want to appreciate the time that you've given us here. I think
I got to call it after that one, but I think those were pretty good. We got a lot of good stuff there. Yeah.
All right. Well, then thank you to the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino, Rob Washam, Joseph Wills. I'm going to share my computer audio so that everyone can hear our music as we tune out. Kim, for us, so much for your time today. And you, the listeners, we'll see you next week on the Rec Poker Podcast. Have a great week, everybody.